and welcome back. Today on Explored we are going to visit Goddess Pose and we're going to look at the foundations all the way up. Now you might also know this pose as a sumo squat or maybe even horse stance, but it's pretty much a wide leg squat. So that means that we're working into the legs, we're getting into the quads, the adductors, the hamstrings, we're working through the feet, and then we've also got that added bonus of opening through the chest, opening through the front line of the body. Now, I love this pose. Again, I know some people it's a bit of a love-hate because it's a squat, but I just think it's fierce. It's an awesome pose, sets me up. I think it's, yeah, I just really like it. So let's see if we can make a few adjustments so that you're on the same level as I am. And if you're not, that's fine. There's some yoga poses out there that just not our favorites, and that's how it's meant to be. So to start with, we're going to come into our Peruvian. So take your feet quite wide. To start with, all 10 toes facing towards the same direction. And if you were to draw one line from one big toe to the other big toe, make sure the feet are in the same line. Now, in Goddess Pose, we need to tuck the tailbone under. Now, I'm not a big fan of saying that in yoga class because I think sometimes it gets a little bit lost in translation and can be said far too many times when actually something else is meant to be said. But what I want you to do first of all is straighten the legs, lock the knees. And just notice how you start getting that tilt in your lower back. Your bum's pushed back, it's pushed away from you. You've kind of got this curving going on the front, bum sticking out. So what I want you to do, soft bend in the knees and just notice naturally how that curve comes out of that position. Now, I want you to try and push your bum down towards the ground. So tuck in the tailbone and just notice how we then get into this front line. Squeeze your glutes. Reach your arms out. So soft bend, pushing your bum down towards the ground, pressing the crown of the head up. So the upper body, nice and long. We're keeping the pelvis, the heart, the head in that nice straight line. Reach the fingertips out, really spread the fingers just so we can add stretch into the forearms. Keep separating the hands, reaching them as far apart as you possibly can. Now, to work the legs a little bit more, press your feet down into the ground, try to meet them in the middle. So imagine you've got to try and crumple up your yoga mat. Now that hopefully won't happen unless you've got a really slippery yoga mat. But just notice how the inner thigh muscles, the groins are having to then work as well. So when we come into Goddess Pose, I kind of want you to take this on board, these things. So you're thinking of keeping your shoulders stacked on top of the hips, that tucking the hips under, bum going down towards the ground, activation of the legs, pulling the feet together. So let's take it into Goddess Pose. Turn the toes out to the side. So you're pigeon toeing your feet, heels come in, toes go out. How wide you take this is just your personal preference. Now we're just going to start with either our hands on our hips or maybe just allow your arms to rest alongside you. But what I want you to do is start sinking down into your legs. Now eventually we want to have it that we can sit quite low, that the hips are in line with the knees. If that's not you right now, that's perfectly fine, but just take it into a level that's maintainable, that you can feel like you're getting that stretch. Now your quads will feel this instantly. This is a great way of building strength in these legs. So I want you to have a quick check. Pull the arches of the feet up, press the four corners of your feet down to the ground. To get into those adductors, push the knees, get that sensation of pushing your knees out to the side. Push your bum down towards the ground, lift the crown up, shoulders stacked on top of the hips. A few options. If you've got problems with your shoulders and your arms fatigue, or if it doesn't feel nice to have your arms out, have your hands resting on your thighs, but have a light touch of your hands. Try not to crank too much down onto your legs. That will just fatigue the muscles a little bit more. Maybe come into your cactus arms. I love doing cactus arms with Goddess Pose because I just feel like it really helps to expand through the chest. So make sure you're pressing your palms back, slightly roll the top of the arms back, squeeze the upper back if you're coming into cactus arms. Lovely. Keep pressing the knees back, bum down to the ground. So much going on. Lovely. As your next inhale, come up. Straighten the legs, turn the toes, come back to the top of the mat. So just hold it there for a second. I'm just going to show you the pose from the side. So common things when people come into Goddess, that when they're in Peruvian, they're like, yep, I've got this. Torso, straight line, feet activated, got it. And then when they come into the pose, they're like this. All you're doing there is you're taking it more into your lower back muscles. which is great. Maybe you can hold this pose forever and it feels absolutely incredible. However, we're really trying to get into the hips, make sure the quads are building strength, working into the right parts of the body for this pose. So when you do come down, whether your arms are out or whatever, press the legs back, press the hips forward, tailbone goes down. Now you're going to have a natural curve in your lower back anyway. You can't eliminate that. But just think of that tilt in the pelvis, down towards the ground, shoulders stacked on top of the hips. Try not to lean too far forward because naturally that will take the bum out to the back, but also you're closing the hip flexors here. So try and lean back. If you need a little bit of extra support, you can always take your hands maybe to the back of the chair and then rest down. That's quite a nice way of coming into this, so we've got a little bit of support. And like I say, you can sink down all the way down if you've got the mobility, but if not, work with the area that you've got. Make sure that you feel that strengthening, the muscles have to work. Now sometimes, depending on what you've done before you've come into this pose into a yoga class, especially if you've been for a run or a long bike ride before, you might find that when you come into Goddess, your muscles start shaking. Now that's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that your muscles are really having to fight to hold you in that position, which kind of we want, because when they're fighting to find that position and stabilizing the body, that's where they're going to find that strength. It's where your nervous system's going to remember what needs to be done in order to hold yourself into that shape. So we're going to come back into Goddess pose. I'm going to show you a few other things that you can do. Up to you if you want to join me or not, but this is just other ways that you can come into the pose, get added stretches. So when you're ready, turn the toes out, heels come in. I don't know why I'm so out of breath, but anyway, got so excited about Goddess pose. I'm going to reach my arms out, you don't have to, and then we're going to sink down. Press the knees back. Lovely. Tuck the tailbone under, activate the feet. So a few options here. You can maybe come into your cactus arms, maybe reach the arms out or just rest the arms alongside you. Another thing that you can do here is to come into a side stretch. So right forearm to the thigh, reach your left arm up and over, try and roll that top shoulder open, maybe even look up. We're gonna come all the way back to center and then switch. So try and keep the legs nice and low. Your body will slowly want to come out of it, but keep it low. We're just going to do one more each way if you're following me. Lovely. And then we're going to come back to center. Now from here, if you want to really work into your balance and ankle strength, try and lift the heels off the floor. Super hard, super fierce, very fiery. Couple of breaths, pressing the balls of the feet down into the ground, heels high. Amazing work. Exhale, slowly straighten the legs. Walk the feet in line with the hips. Woo. Give them a little bit of a shake. Now, as always, when we come into poses in yoga, we can sometimes be a little bit linear and we get a little bit stuck. So we can just come into Goddess over and over again, just make the same shapes. But I want you to try and explore it. So maybe see what happens if you move from side to side. Maybe you get more of a stretch. Maybe you feel more benefit when you come into those side stretches. So just come into the pose, move the body, see how you feel. Hopefully that's explained Goddess pose, and maybe it's encouraged you to try it a little bit more in your practice.
Chingity ching, it's Dominic the donkey.